So I wasn't actually planning on making this video. The truth is I'm working on a longer content video right now that really explains in detail from different perspectives, different personalities, different situations of what your ex is probably thinking and feeling during no contact, and even part aspects of what caused them to break up with you in the first place, just a more in-depth version of that video. But as I was working on that video, I had a call with a client, and I'm going to call him Mick. Let's refer to him as Mick. Clearly that's not his name. His name also isn't Vic or Nick or Slick. So I'm not trying to be clever, but let's just call him Mick for right now. And it really made me feel like this video is something that I really need to make in a standalone. There's a mistake that people make. No contact is hard enough, especially if you're going through a really painful breakup. And if it's painful enough, if you're looking for videos online and you're trying to find out how to stick into no contact or how to win back a relationship that really matters to you, chances are if that's you, then you're in a significant amount of pain, right? If the relationship didn't mean much to you, then you don't need to worry about strategies to try to win somebody back. The very fact that you're looking and watching videos like this is a strong indication that you're going through significant pain, that it's probably not the normal breakup. And in those cases, in the cases where the pain is serious enough, is deep enough, and the relationship itself was meaningful to the point that you really want to get that one more shot at the person you think you belong with, then obviously no contact itself is going to be difficult. It's a human instinct. And if you're going through significant pain trying to win back a meaningful relationship, then of course it's going to be hard to go into no contact. No contact is actually you suppressing a desperate instinctive compulsion, not just the urge, a compulsion to chase after the person that you lost. It's like you're trying to fight to win somebody back by not fighting. That doesn't seem to make sense. I've said before, it'll feel like you're trying to get back to an island by swimming away from it. That's what being in no contact feels like. That's already hard enough. But a lot of times people in that already difficult, challenging situation of not fighting for the relationship that they want to fight for, of watching the person that they love so much that it's hard to imagine a future without them, just watching them drift further and further away. It's an incredibly painful and difficult thing to do. So Mick falls into that category. He's a guy that's trying to win back a woman that he was with for a couple of years, for a long time. And they had a really meaningful, long-term planning, committed relationship. They found their one. They found their soulmate, or at least he thought he had. She thought she had. They were each other's, soulmate, twin flame. They actually used that kind of language. And she saw him as like too good to be true, the love of her life, her Prince Charming. And then after a couple of years, all of a sudden, she started dropping from that high limerence state. Not quite 2 years, but around that time that limerence kind of pushes its edge. Normally, it's around 18 months at its most. Most of the time, limerence wears off in like 2 to 4 months. Sometimes it can last longer. But when the limerence wore off with her, she actually ended up dropping attraction to Mick and then pushing him away. So not a completely new story, right? I mean, we've heard that story before. But what you don't know about Mick is the guy that most guys wish they could become. If you were to even ask a woman to, hey, write down the attributes, the characteristics, the looks, write down the description of the perfect man. A lot of women would end up writing down and describing Mick. A lot of guys would end up writing down and describing Mick. This guy is over 6 feet tall. He's a personal trainer. He's built like a Greek god. He's got a face like a GQ model. I mean, the guy has got a sensitive heart. He's from the times that I've spoken to him, I've only spoken to him a couple of times, but he seems to be very authentic. Like you could tell the pain was very real. And when he was giving the background, he wasn't slandering her. He wasn't saying she lied to me, she betrayed me, she promised she was going to love me forever, but she walked out on me. I can't believe she would hurt me like this. It was the other way. Mick, because he's got an authentic heart, when she broke up with him, even though he didn't cheat on her, he didn't empty out their bank account. He was supporting her. He was doing everything that he could. Even when she was breaking up with him, she didn't say, hey, here's the event. Here's how you betrayed me. Here's how you hurt me, so we can't be together anymore. When she broke up with him, it was more a sense of, I think our time together is done. I think our season has come and gone. I'm always going to be thankful for the role that you played in my life, but I think relationships are meant to just carry us from one place to another. I don't know if we're meant to for long term. So in other words, she didn't really give him a solid reason. There wasn't, hey, if you change this, we'll be together. If you stop doing this, then I can come back. It was more just like hey, this is the universe. This is destiny. This is serendipitous. Our time together, a season has come and gone. It's hard to argue with something like that. And if you argue with it, it doesn't really frame you as being attractive. It doesn't create a sense of loss. If somebody breaks up with you for a reason that really doesn't make sense or doesn't give you something tangible that you can change, adjust, or improve, then what do you do with that? And that's what she did to him. Now, again, on the outside, if you were to see Mick walking into a gym or just passing him on the street, anywhere, you wouldn't think, well, that guy struggles to attract women. That guy struggles to attract a love life or a partner. He actually looks like the kind of person that you'd assume that guy's probably never alone. So this wasn't a case where there was something he could definitely change, improve, apologize for, or any kind of a measurable metric that he could adjust to win her back. Although because it caught him off guard, he started trying to. Now, I should say Mick's ex, just like I've been kind of heaping some praise on him, well, she's also got a lot of qualities that would be highly attractive to people. She's like Instagram model hot. As a matter of fact, she's Instagram model. So she's not going to like die of loneliness even more than Mick. So because she's online and because they're kind of, you could say in some ways, in some metrics, they're both two kind of high value, highly attractive, highly sought after people in their demographic, right? Both of them are the kind of people that won't have any kind of problem attracting people. But because she's online and he has access to her, even when Mick went into no contact, one of the things Mick kept doing, and he's better at projecting strength than a lot of people in no contact are. Sometimes if you're just kind of blessed with some natural attributes, it's easier for people to believe when you go into no contact that you are strong enough to move on. And that's what you want to project while you're in no contact. You don't have to pretend like you hate the other person. You don't have to pretend like you don't like them. You don't even have to pretend like you don't want them back. But the essence of no contact is you proving to the other person and to yourself to some degree that you are strong enough to live an intriguing, worthwhile life without them. Because a lot of times when you're starting out in no contact, you're trying to recover from your initial reaction to the breakup. Look, when somebody breaks up with you, especially if you don't see it coming, it triggers this sense of loss. The way we're wired, if somebody has given you a consistent sense of value, a consistent sense of worth over time, and then they take it away, unless you're a psychopath or a sociopath, it's going to affect your ego. Even a narcissist can feel a punch to their ego. They have a very large ego, so they can feel it. So she's highly valuable too. Like I said, she's an Instagram model, so she's not suffering in the looks department. She's got a lot of options. She has a lot of guys that are reaching out to her. So you got kind of two high value people, and one of them decided they didn't want to be with the other one anymore. So they pushed away. Now, Mick did what most people do. When you've been in a relationship that long, especially with somebody who has consistently given you a sense of importance, consistently given you a sense of meaning, you just know when you're having a hard day or you need to find that one person that really believes in you, that's your person. So for 2 years, that was his person. And then boom, like that, it was gone. So even though Mick is a high value guy with a lot of options, the truth is when he didn't see the breakup coming and when she ended up pushing him away, her going from a woman that he just knew, admired, respected, and wanted him more than other women had wanted him in the past, and built that deep sense of intimate, deep down, not just intimate sex, intimate in a sense of this person really knows me and I really know them. And we have enough time together that we just trust we're the one that the other person can count on. We found our long-term partner. We found our soulmate. We found the one. And now she's gone. It doesn't matter how high-end he is. It doesn't matter how good-looking he is. It doesn't matter that he's successful. It doesn't matter that he has money. It doesn't matter that he has his own business. It doesn't matter that he buys and owns and lives in a big house. None of that matters. Now, we think we're more logical than we are. So everything I've said to describe Mick up to this point sounds like the kind of guy, and this is how we play it out in our head. Well, if you're that good looking, you're that successful, you're that ripped, you look like the kind of the epitome of what every man wants to look like, and you could get cast in a Marvel superhero movie at any day. You think that's a guy that can handle a breakup the best, right? Because he has options. I mean, he can remind himself that he's high value. He has a lot of evidence that he's high value, so he can survive it. But it's not true. It's hitting him even harder because he's looking at his attributes. He's looking at the great things about him and thinking, well, wait a minute. If I am good looking the way people have always told me, the world around me has always kind of validated that he's good looking because he is, and he's ripped, he's a personal trainer, and he's a good guy. All of his friends and even the girl breaking up with him is telling him, you're a really good guy. Nobody's loved me better. Nobody's loved me more. Nobody's been a better boyfriend to me. And she's telling him these things even as she's breaking up with him. Now, she's telling him these things even as she's breaking up with him. So in a weird way, his positives become a negative to him because he's thinking, wait a minute, if I am all these things, I'm trying to be, and I've always tried to be the good guy, the hero. I've always tried to be what women want me to be. If she needed to talk, he always made sure to listen. If she needed something, he always made sure to provide. If she wanted or needed anything, he always did his best to give it to her. So you could say that he overly pampered her. He kind of spoiled her. He changed how she saw him from being out of her league and too good to be true. And that during those 2 years, he was giving and giving and giving. So it took away this idea that he's a little bit too good to be true. But the way Mick looks at it, he thinks, well, wait a minute. If I have all these attributes, if I've always been told that I'm good looking and I'm a personal trainer and I know I'm intelligent and I know I'm sensitive and I know I'm empathetic and I know I've tried to pay attention, if I got all these things right, and she still doesn't want to be with me, That's kind of undeniable evidence that something is wrong with me. He even said, I just feel like if any other guy had all the attributes, had all the characteristics that I have, she'd probably stay with him. There's just something about me that messes things up. So he got convinced of that. So when she broke up with him initially, that punch to his ego, that sense of loss, his pain on a scale of 1 to 10 was a 10. His understanding of why he was feeling that pain was a 2. So it kind of created this traumatic bond, and all of a sudden he couldn't stop thinking about it. He couldn't stop analyzing what he got wrong. Because he is a good guy, because he is authentic, instead of getting mad at her and saying, you're crazy, you're ungrateful, you're horrible, you don't deserve me, I'll go find somebody better, which maybe he should have said. But he's an authentic good guy. So what did he do? He said, okay, well, if she doesn't want to be with me, I probably got something wrong. I don't want to be a narcissist. I don't want to not hear what she has to say. So let me start taking a hyper look at myself. Well, she told him contradicting things. And one side, she said, you work too hard. You don't make enough time for me. I'm not special enough. You don't make me feel heard enough. You don't make me feel like I matter enough. But then when he shifted his hours and started spending more time with her, she started saying, you need to really work on your purpose. You're too invested in me. I'm supposed to be here. I'm in your life to nurture you, to encourage you, to uplift you, and to help you reach that next level. I'm not here for you to focus on. I'm here so you can become the best you that you can be. I think fate has placed me in your life to help you achieve and become what you couldn't be without me. Which, hey, that's kind of a narcissistic and self-centered thing to say to somebody, but it's also contradictory to her telling him that he's working too hard. But again, because his goal is to please her, because he's heard his whole life that a good man is always there for the woman that he loves, and that a good man is always listening, and that she's always right. So he's actually trying to adjust to everything that she tells him. But even when he does that, it's not increasing attraction. Guess what it's doing? It's obviously lowering attraction. So he started going into no contact, and it actually started working pretty quickly. The more he pulled back, the more she started reaching out. The more he stopped bringing up the relationship, the more she started bringing up the relationship. As a matter of fact, when she moved out, somebody else moved in, and then she sent him a message saying something like, well, it figures, I assumed when I moved out that you'd have somebody else in there, but I didn't think you'd have a girl in there this fast. Now, this is a girl roommate. Mick isn't actually attracted or interested in this woman at all. It literally just is a roommate. And he had to do it short notice because she didn't give him much time before she moved out. So now Mick has a roommate that is really the result of her choice. But just when he's showing the strength to walk away from her, she reaches out and hits him with a guilt trip message. I should have known you were going to have somebody in there this soon. It just kind of surprises me. I didn't think you'd be moving on this quick, but I guess it kind of validates my decision that our time together is over, and hits him with a guilt trip. So then he's like, well, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. Do you want me to ask her to move out? You don't even have to tell me. I'm going to go ahead and ask her to move out. So he's still chasing after the person who's rejected him for conflicting reasons. Even though no contact started working, when she gave him that little message, he responded to it like that. Not too long after that moment happened, he thought, well, maybe since the door is open now and she was a little jealous, now's my chance to convince her to come back. So he starts trying to have these longer conversations with her. And he gets a couple of conversations with her where he just gets to pour his heart out and tell her everything that he's realized, every realization, every epiphany, every moment of light that came on into his mind about how he could do it better and they could be a stronger couple and he could listen more and he could hit the balance that she was talking about. And he's really trying to convince her because she showed jealousy, which reminds him that she must care a little bit. So he goes back into full pursuit mode. And she's gone again like that. Now, he tells me in a message later, he's like, I know you told me not to do that. I know you told me that her sending that message showed a little bit of jealousy and that I shouldn't start pursuing her again. But I just felt like the universe was whispering in my ear that now's the time to show her how much she means to me. Now is the time to put my case out on the table and give this open plea to have her come back to me. So I took the shot a couple of times. In a couple of multi-hour conversations, I tried to remind her and convince her of how good we could be together because now I understand. So again, Mick's heart's in the right place and Mick really wants her back. So he's chasing. She gave him a little sign of hope with the jealousy and now he's back on the track. But of course, when he dove in like that and started going into a mad pursuit of her all over again, it had the effect that it usually does. It reassured her that she hadn't really lost him. Oh, he's still right there. All I had to do was send a little message about jealousy, and he changed his living arrangements. He put himself in financial jeopardy and threw somebody out just to try to show me how much I mean to him. So she didn't have a sense of loss anymore. She knew in that moment that if she wanted Mick back, all she had to do was pick up the phone and text him. All she had to do was just give him the smallest sign that I'll take you back, and he'd go running back. So it had the backfiring effect that it usually does. And she disappeared again. But this time she said, you know what? I never even should have said that about your roommate. That's up to you. You should live your life the way you want to live your life. I'm sorry, I crossed the line. And she reaffirmed herself as disconnected, that she doesn't care, that she just wants him to move on because she's realized their time together in the universe has already been ordained to be over. So she's back onto this universal fate kick and pushing him away. Well, to him, it feels like he lost her twice. So now he goes into this locked state of mind. And that's the reason I'm making this video now. He got so wrapped up from that second rejection that he started following her all the time, taking screenshots of her Instagram, taking screenshots of her Facebook, taking screenshots. Every day he's monitoring her. And having her reject him for the second time created this panic. It was almost like re-traumatized. It's almost like, imagine that you got a serious wound and it was just starting to heal, and then somebody just ripped it wide open again. Now it's worse than it was before. Now that sense of healing, that sense of hope, that sense of even slight strength that was starting to return has been ripped away, and you're back into a wound that's even greater than the one that you were initially trying to recover from. Well, in that state of pain, his mind started locking again. Like, one of the things that happens, what I mean by mind lock, is when you're going through a painful breakup, especially a traumatic one like that, your mind will lock onto that topic. There's a part of your brain called the anterior cingulate gyrus. One of the things that regulates is topic change. If you're going through a really painful emotional crisis or tragedy event, it's like that part of your mind can, against your will, hyper focus, hyper fixate, and lock onto that topic. Whatever is terrifying you, fascinating you, exciting you, or making you feel love, that's what can kind of trigger your mind to hyper fixate on that topic or on that subject. Well, now after that second traumatized rejection from her, he's now locked onto her. So every day for weeks, he's looking at her Instagram. Every day for weeks, he's checking her Facebook, checking her Spotify, checking whatever way he can to peek over the wall into her life and see where she's at. See if she's dating somebody, thinking about him, missing him. Well, she just got the ego boost of breaking up with Mick, who most girls would just cut their leg off to go out with. So her ego is thriving. Her ego is overflowing. And not only did she break up with the guy that at one time she thought was just too good to be true, but now he's chasing her. Now he's having these multiple hour-long conversations trying to talk her back into going back with him. So her ego is at an all-time high. She's also getting flirted with because now people on her social media platforms can see that she's single. So she's getting attention from new guys. She's getting attention from Mick. So she's feeling pretty high about herself. She's feeling pretty fantastic about herself. And Mick notices that she's not showing any more signs of interest. And now he's telling himself, I ruined it twice. And now he's sending me messages saying, you know, the more I think about it, the more I realize that she was right. I didn't prioritize her. I didn't make her number one. I didn't let her know how much she means to me. Yeah, but didn't she tell you that you should focus on your business? Yeah, and I realized I wasn't focusing on my business as much either. I wasn't. So he stayed so locked in on her and her thinking and her life, and so locked in on what he got wrong that it was almost like they shared a mind. It's like he shared the same view of himself that she had repeated to him, even though it was contradictory. Even though, even by his own standards, he couldn't think of anything that he actually did wrong to really drive her away. And she couldn't think of anything either. She wasn't telling him that he did this wrong, or this wrong. But now, without realizing it, he had started seeing himself through her eyes, because that's what love is. Love, to a degree, is empathetic vision. I see and experience things from the perspective of the person I love, right? Like if I'm going through any kind of a crisis situation and my wife is next to me, instinctively, one of the first things I'm going to do is, what is she thinking? What is she feeling? What do I need to do to make sure she's okay? What do I need to do to let her know I love her and that she's protected? So that empathetic, even heroic, instinctive empathy that you have when you're in love with somebody can stay alive and even get magnified if you don't force yourself to turn away, to stop staring, to stop chasing, to stop getting into this mindset that tells you, the more information I can get about my ex, the better my plan. The better my plan, the better my chances. I can have the best strategy to win them back if I'm constantly monitoring them to see what they're doing. Did they buy a new dog? Did they buy a new cat? Did they get a new friend? Are they listening to sad music? Are they going out with their friends? Are they posting pictures? So he's getting obsessed with getting as much information about her as he can. And without knowing it, it's reinforcing the version of himself that she has of him. He's trying to crawl into her mind, right? So he succeeded to a degree. But now he's seeing himself through her eyes. And her eyes sees him as less than he really is. So now he starts adopting and assuming the same belief about himself that she has, that he's not quite good enough. But because there's no clear idea about what he got wrong, he doesn't know what to fix. So he just feels broken. He just feels deep down there's something about him that ruined it, that she did the right thing, even though he can't explain why. And it got so bad because he wouldn't stop looking. He wouldn't stop paying attention to her. He wouldn't stop fixating on her thoughts and her reasoning and all of his faults and what he can do to win her back. Because he wouldn't stop that, it kind of kept building and kept building until he went through a really dark time. Now, there are certain things on YouTube I can't talk about, so I'm going to have to imply. He went to a really dark spot, and that's when he reached out to me to tell me what he was going through. Now, he got some help. I reached out to make sure that he got some help. So he's got a relative that's staying with him for a while to make sure that he's good. But the fact that it got to that point is such a tragedy. Now, he didn't succeed, so he hasn't done anything that he can't take back. But he got to such a dark place. And we don't really think about that either. But when you're going through a breakup, when you're going through a rejection, especially when you didn't see coming, I call it dark limerence. Just like that overexcitement that you get when you fall in love, you're kind of idealizing that person. You see yourself with them forever. They're amazing. They're exciting. You can't believe how lucky you are. You can't believe how much passion you feel. That's what they call limerence. But when you go through a breakup that you don't see coming, you go through a breakup that you not only didn't see coming, you were really feeling assured, strong, confident that the person you were with is the person you're going to be with for a long time. So you actually feel relaxed. You actually feel good. You feel good about yourself. You feel good about the person that you're with. And then it's just gone, or not too long before it's just taken away in a way you didn't see coming. There's something I refer to as dark limerence. Just like you have dopamine, serotonin, adrenaline flooding your blood system, it makes you feel almost high. It makes you almost feel euphoric. It's like you're on a drug. Every time you see that person, your heart pounds, you get the butterflies in your stomach, and you almost feel unstoppable. You almost feel supercharged. But when you go through a breakup that you don't see coming, you get the emotional equivalent of that on the dark side. You have cortisol, you have vasopressin, you have adrenaline again getting released, but it's not the adrenaline that says, ooh, I'm going to the best party, or this is the greatest car I've ever bought, or this is an exciting day, so the adrenaline's pumping. It's more like the adrenaline pumping when you're hiding from a serial killer. It's it's that fearful adrenaline when you're about to be attacked by 17 people in a dark alley. It's the bad kind of adrenaline when you're waiting for a phone call from your doctor for a blood test that you had this week, or you're walking through an alley and suddenly 17 people come out from behind trash cans with guns and baseball bats and pitchforks, and you're by yourself counting your money from the night of tips you just got off work from. You get the idea. There's good adrenaline, there's bad adrenaline. Well, there's good limerence and there's dark limerence. And he's in the dark limerence stage now. He's flooded, and he trusts his own version of the future, and he trusts the scariest version of the future that he got from conversations with her. And it got so bad because he wouldn't stop looking. When you're going through no contact, even if you're not this extreme, the number one sabotager of people that do no contact successfully is when they don't really do it, the internal work. And I'm not trying to sound cheesy, so people might be turning off this video right now. Just listen to me for a second, because I'm telling you, it's the number one reason I see people not get somebody back, even when they do no contact well, is they stay focused on that person. It's almost like they're doing no contact in secret. But behind closed doors, in their basement, in their bedroom, and on their laptop, they're still like, let me see what they listened to today. Let me see who they talked to today. Let me see if they got one new follower. Let me see if they got one new follower that might be a romantic match for my ex. Oh, this person just started following them and they both have the same kind of dog. Oh, this person started following them and they both like to scuba dive. This person, you get the idea. He'd stayed so fixated on following her and hyper monitoring if no contact is going to work. Okay, I've been in no contact now for 21 days. And every time I check her social media, she's checking my stories and she's sending me. He's still hyper fixated on her. He didn't actually recover his sense of meaning, his sense of value, his sense of purpose. As a matter of fact, he's still basing all of those things about who he is based on her version or her opinion of who he is. So she's telling him who he is and he's believing it. And right now, the woman who he's seeing himself through her eyes has rejected him. So ultimately, he felt like he should reject himself. And he almost did something that he couldn't undo. And it wouldn't have happened. I don't believe it would have happened. I've never seen something like that happen when you go into no contact, you not only stay away from that person, you not only give them reason to believe that you're strong enough to walk away, you have to start convincing and reminding yourself that you really are. And if you're telling yourself, if you're watching this video and saying, yeah, but I really can't live without them. I really don't know how to let go. I really don't know how to imagine the future without them being in it. It's just too overwhelming for me. It's okay to feel that way. It's a normal thing to feel that way. That doesn't make you broken because you're going through that. I've been there myself. Like the two things that I remember, the locations I remember the most are on my sister's kitchen floor, like literally laying there in the middle of the kitchen floor, just moaning with nobody home until my sister walked in. And I'm on the kitchen floor thinking, how did I end up here? I'm smart. I know who I am. I don't even know how to get up. And I remember laying on my couch, just wrapped in a blanket, just kind of shaking and rocking back and forth, shaking like I was some kind of an escaped kidnap victim who'd been kept under a tarp in the basement for 3 months. I mean, I'm conscious of how overwhelmed I am while I was like laying on the couch, rocking back and forth and shaking, trying to figure out how to calm myself down enough to actually function for the day because I was in that much pain. So I understand being in that pain, but don't trust the pain. Sometimes you can't fight it. Sometimes you don't know how to turn it down, but don't listen to what it tells you because it'll tell you the worst lies. Logic and fear will double team. Logic will tell you, well, if you don't do something to fight for that person you love, they're never going to come back. Every day they get further away. That's not true. Human logic and human instinct and human behavior are not the same thing. We're actually very irrational. And I tried to tell him that. I was like, look, Mick, if we're talking about logic, you're a good looking guy. You have a lot of options. Why don't you just tell yourself, hey, I can get somebody as good looking as her. I got her. I can get somebody else. Maybe she's got a flawed view of who I am because she can't even tell me what I got wrong. Stop looking at yourself through the eyes of the person you're trying to win back. But another aspect of it, it's sometimes hard to let go of that fear because sometimes that fear, that desperation, even that misery is at least a connection to your ex. At least it's a connection to that person that you don't want to let go of. Sometimes there's a level of you that doesn't want to let go of that pain, that fear, even that overwhelming anxiety and ache, because at least it's a connection to them. And you imagine yourself not hurting, and you close your eyes and imagine yourself in the future not hurting over them at all. And that version, instead of feeling pain-free, feels hopeless. It feels like, well, if I get to that point where I don't hurt over them anymore, they really are gone. So you instinctively hold on to even some of that pain. But the more you stay locked into seeing yourself through their eyes, and the more you stay locked on watching their life, instead of reminding yourself of the virtue and the value and the potential of your own, the more that anxiety, that dark limerence is just going to keep crushing you. The sense of dread, the sense of hopelessness just starts to overwhelm. So the best chance to not only not go into that dark space, but the best chance to actually win that person back. If they're rejecting you, they've already got a false version of you. Hopefully, stop seeing yourself through the eyes of the person that rejected you. Sometimes the first person you have to remind of your own value to win your ex back is yourself. But we get it backwards. We think, well, if I can get them back, getting them back will remind me of my value. I can't really have a sense of value because the person that I trusted with my worth is rejecting me. So I need to get them back so I can feel strong enough to recover. That's a very natural instinct, but it doesn't work. You have to take a deep breath, remind yourself of your own characteristics, of your own value, of your own potential, of your own moments of greatness, of the own moments in you that are special, that are unique to you. And I promise you those are there. You have to remind yourself of those things before that other person is going to remember. And if you're looking to them to remember first so that they can reprove to you that you have value, that's not going to come across as strength. That's going to come across as desperation, weakness, and clinginess. I don't mean that it is those things, but that's how it's going to feel. To them, it can even feel, like I said before, it feels like worship. Well, you can't live without them. You don't have a sense of purpose and meaning without them. That's what people should say about God. That's what people should say about their own sense of purpose, not somebody else. Like I love my wife with all my heart, but she is not my purpose. She is not the center of my universe. And if she was, it wouldn't be attractive to her anyway. She'd lose attraction for me and I'd lose respect for myself. But the reason I'm making this video is Nick is a really good guy. But the reason I'm making this video is there's a lot of mix out there. And it doesn't have to be a guy. There's a lot of women that are going through the same thing. Really high value, really high purpose, really high worth. And I don't just mean in terms of financial world. I mean people with exceptional hearts, really good, unique, loving personalities that would be a blessing to anybody's life that are getting rejected, but they can't stop seeing themselves through the eyes of the person that rejected them. And they lose sight of their own purpose. They lose sight of their own impact on the world around them. Mick inspires a lot of people. He's a personal trainer and he's very popular and successful. So if he did go away, he would hurt a lot of people. It would actually be a domino effect that would negatively impact a lot of people based on the imperfect, unstable, inconsistent, immature versions and feelings of a girl, of a human being. There's not a human being on the planet who is worthy of you basing your value and your worth on their opinion of you. And if you've got to that point that you can't imagine a future without them in it, then you've probably crossed over from love into worship. And worship is not only unattractive to them, it's very destructive to you and how you see yourself and your own purpose in life. So the whole purpose of this video, I know it sounds simple, but if you're doing no contact, I know it's hard and sometimes it can really, overwhelming is not just a word. Sometimes it feels unbearable and it feels like, well, look, doing no contact is hard enough. I don't know how to do no contact if I'm not looking over. I need to be monitoring. I need to see if it's going to work because I don't think no contact is going to work. So one of the ways it can calm me while I'm doing it is kind of peeking, trying to make sure that it's having some kind of impact on them. But the more you do that, the more you sabotage it. Even when they come back, you're going to do what Mick did. When they actually let that door open and show the slightest interest in you again, if you've been fixated on them because you more and more can't imagine your life without them, then you're going to flood them. You're gonna drown them with affection so quickly that it won't matter that they came back. They'll be gone again soon. So I know this video isn't for everybody, but it's for a lot of people. And especially if you're in that dark place, please watch this. If you're doing no contact, don't let that pain be a waste by staying fixated on them, thinking that if they can't tell that you're fixated on them, if they can't tell that you're internet stalking them, if they don't know that they're dominating your thoughts, then it won't matter. It will matter. It'll matter in how you react. It'll matter in how you carry yourself. It'll matter in what you project to the world around you. It'll matter with what you do with your life, with what you build and with what you accomplish. So it's going to impact it. Even if you think if they don't know, then you're okay. It's not going to hurt you. It'll still hurt you. So if your situation is complicated and you're not sure what to do and you're not sure where to start, give me a call. You can find me at realcoachken.com. Let me know if I can help, and I'll be back soon with that other video. Take care.